Hi, okay, you chose option D, R or T, and not R and T. Okay, that doesn't work for this sentence, but let's talk about what this sentence does say, because this is touching on something that will help you pick the right answer from the other ones. Okay, let me make a distinction between two different ways of using or in, let's say, English. There's an inclusive or and there's an exclusive or. If I say A or B, some sentence A or B, and I mean that or inclusively, then what I'm saying is A is true, or B is true, or both are true. On the other hand, if I use it exclusively, then A or B means A is true or B is true, but not both. It can't be both. Okay, so when you're setting up a logic and you have a connective, a V sign that stands for or, there's a question to ask. Is this going to stand for inclusive or? Is it going to stand for exclusive or? Do we want it to change depending on the weather? In the way we've set up our logic, which is pretty standard, it's always an inclusive or. You could set up the logic so we had an exclusive or, so the V sign stood for an exclusive or. That would require some changes to some things, but you could do it. There are some things that come out much nicer this way. There are linguists who will tell you that English or is almost always inclusive. I don't want to harp on that too much, but that is the way the language is set up. Now, given that the or sign is inclusive, what does this sentence D say? So it says two things are true, right? The main connective is that and. So we're saying the thing on the left is true and the thing on the right is true. The thing on the left says R or T. And remember, this is an inclusive or. So this says R is true or T is true or both. But now the conjunct on the right says it's not the case that R and T are both true. So if you had an English sentence that had an exclusive or in it, something where clearly the author intended to say this thing is true or that thing is true, but not both, you could use a formula like D to express that. Two things I want to say. One is this original English sentence is pretty exclusively an inclusive or. That and or construction in English means inclusive or. So that's one point. This sentence just doesn't work here. Second point I want to make, be cautious about throwing around exclusive or. If you want to symbolize an English sentence with an exclusive or instead of an inclusive or, make sure you've got good evidence for it. Make sure that the author says something like, but not both. Because typically you may be relying on something like background information to tell you that the two things, that the conjunction of the two things is not allowed, right? And when you're symbolizing a sentence, you want to stick as much as you can to what that sentence says. Keep that separate from other information you might have. I don't want to go on too long about this answer. We can talk more about this in questions later on if you like. But our or is inclusive. This sentence has an inclusive or. You should default to inclusive or in general. Okay, so this answer doesn't work. Go back and pick another one, and then I'll see you in the next question.